Goeienaand, welkom by Fokus op hierdie eerste Woensdag van Maart. Ek is Lenet Francis Peuren. Swaar reën oor groot dele van die land die afgelope paar weke het oorstromings plek lewens geëis en groot skade aangerig. In KwaZulu-Natal het die vloedwaters in Ladysmith kilometers ver gestrek. Minstens 20 mense is dood en ook hier is groot skade aan privaat en kommersiële eiendom aangerig. Maar dis nie die eerste keer wat die dorp oorstroom nie. Die Kliprivier oorstroom sedert die ontstaan van Ladysmith elke paar jaar sy walle en saai groot verwoesting in die dorp. Maar wat veroorsaak die vloede? Fokusregisseur Jolien Reed en cameraman Byron Taylor het gaan ondersoek instel.
When the flood occurred, my sister and I were busy trying to secure the sliding doors in the lounge and in the dining room from where the water comes in. And while we were doing that, the water started seeping in. And I didn't think that the water was going to reach at least waist level at that time, because on the flood of the Wednesday before that, the water had reached about calf level.
Many of them were in distress, and basically they were panicking because they didn't know what to take with them in terms of clothing and food, especially with kids being around. It was just in hesitation. They had to just evacuate from their homes.
Where the business houses were hit very, very hard. Okay, it has also broken banks at the back of the bridge, which is known as Shepston Bridge, and there's a bridge that got Transnet, what they call trains that go over it. So that is where all the water started pouring into the CBD, besides all that was coming in from the stormwater drains and everywhere else. And water levels rose to something like your chest high and had affected all those businesses that were in the low-lying part of the CBD. That the river had burst its banks in 2 points. By then, the CBD had already been flooded because the water levels were already sitting at 7.8, going to 8 and so forth. Now those are levels that will also flood the CBD, even at 7.5, 7.6. But what is very, very important to understand, that when the water levels started rising in the river, it went on to that side and water overflowed into the residential areas, which is known as the Ladysmith area, and water from the river started flowing in there.
In Januarie van die jaar het die Kliprivier in minder as 'n week 2 keer oorstroom.
Rain comes into southern Africa from different places. So, for example, in the Midlands of KZN, and that's very important at the moment with the floods in Ladysmith, here their weather comes from the south. So here we have cold fronts coming from the ocean, moving northwards into the country, and when these wet air masses meet the Drakensberg escarpment, the air parcels rise, we get condensation, and we get lots of rain. So it's the steep mountainous front of the country that gets lots of rain, and this is actually where lots of the water that comes into the Klip River and the Tugela River catchment, where Ladysmith is located, this is how they get flooding. This is where flooding occurs.
In die laat 90er jare is die Kaidosisi damwal gebou om die water wat in die Kliprivier vloei te beheer. Die rivier is een van 2 riviere wat daartoe bydra dat massas water in die Tugela rivier se opvangsgebied vloei. Die rivier ontspring in die weste van KwaZulu-Natal en vloei aanvanklik ooswaarts, maar swaai dan suidwaarts.
And what we are doing now is to tame nature in a way, but also bring some hope to a town that has suffered enormously.
This end of suffering, as quite appropriately the dam is called, Ketusisi, is something that would bring joy to us for years to come.
So there have been at least 30 floods that have affected Ladysmith over the last 100 years. So apart from lots of rainfall taking place further towards the west in the headwater areas of the Klip River, all that water comes down through the river system, and unfortunately Ladysmith is just in a location where lots of the water is concentrated.
Toe die watervlakke in hulle huis vinnig begin styg het Feroza Karwa die Alimdad Stichting vir hulp gevra.
I had to do things at a very hectic and a frantic pace, and yes, my sister was here. But despite her handicap, she tried to help me. And my mom also, she is 86 years old, so she gets very worried and stressed all the time. We're used to it. It happens all the time because this has become a part of our life. We've gone through 15 floods. And from the time we moved into Siad in 1969, we were living in the outbuilding. And we have lost our things, I think, totally wiped out, as I would say, about 3 to 4 times, completely. And for any person to start rebuilding is a very costly affair. Okay, I'm lucky in a sense that I have an upstairs where I can still function from an upstairs and get my things. If you go upstairs, you will see I have a little sort of a kitchenette there. But what about all those people that have lost everything? And I know I'm talking from experience because we have had that before, where you couldn't even find a clean pair of shoes or underwear or even food. I mean, my food was floating, my soups and rice and so my rice and flour buckets floating everywhere. But those are things that can be replaced. But what about people that cannot afford it? Example is my tenant next door. He runs a barber shop. And when I walked into his house, I was really heartbroken because absolutely everything. He tried his best to put his things on crates. But when I looked at the doors were broken, his cupboards were broken, his mattress was wet. And for quite a few days, he had his things lying outside. I mean, if you look in the neighborhood here, all over the houses that are here had things drying outside, just as we had.
Kwangena amanzi endlini kwamosheka yonke into umbhede ngamafridge ayikho into eyasala nje yaba right la endlini ngoba nengubo zonke zazimanzi kwamosheka nje yonke into nje ibed ngalendlela.
Die stigting het in samewerking met die plaaslike polisie se reddingseenheid sowat 120 mense na veiligheid gebring. Minstens 20 mense het in die oorstromings omgekom.
Our first rescue mission was a mom with the 2 kids. She was in quite distress and panic as to how she's going to get her kids across the road into safety. So with Alimdad Foundation, our search and rescue operations, we went to her house as well, rescued her, and we found that the child was shivering due to the waters coming into the house, the fire is chest height. And we managed to rescue that child out together with his mom. The funeral parlor actually contacted us and said, you know what, can you please assist us? We're trying to remove the body from there, and so that the family could do their funeral proceedings. When we got there, water levels were quite deep. We went in with our teams and we said, yes, we'll help you, and together with the family to ease the pressure and distress from the family. We went in with our boats, connected into another dinghy, brought the body out, and then funeral parlors were there to take it in.
There's no man else there. All here dropping.
Net hierna praat ons met inwoners wat beweer swak onderhoud aan 'n damwal en aan die rioolstelsel veroorsaak die oorstromings. Bly gerus ingeskakel. Welkom terug by Fokus. Die onlangse oorstromings in Ladysmith in KwaZulu-Natal het groot verwoesting gesaai. In deel 2 van ons spesiale verslag vertel inwoners hulle glo swak onderhoud aan 'n damwal en die rioolstelsel veroorsaak hierdie vloede.
Die Windsor Sekondêre Skool word dikwels in pyn gelê omdat dit naby die laagliggende deel van die Kliprivier geleë is. Vanjaar se oorstromings was niks vreemds nie. Die skool maak veral voorsiening vir leerders uit agtergeblewe gemeenskappe en wil vir hulle 'n beter uitkoms gee. Die matriekklas van verlede jaar het 'n slaagsyfer van 8,4% gehad.
This entire area here has been flooded. If you can look over here, you can see with the water here for about 3 or 4 days, the level of the grass and the high, the number of days we had rain over here. That block there was flooded. The classroom, the water was there. The bad part of it was 2 classrooms there. Even after 4 or 5 days, the water was still in the classroom, so we had to take away the bricks to make sure to get rid of the water from the classrooms. But this side here where we had our stockrooms was also affected. The stockrooms where the textbooks were damaged because the water had also got into the stockroom. It was frightening, ma'am. And for me, in the first day when I saw the school flooded, I was really like heartbroken and demoralized because it's like my house being flooded.
In the beginning of the book, we will see that Othello is essentially a good person, right? So he's essentially that good person, and it's because of other people that have had an influence on him that makes him deteriorate in his character.
The Department of Education is always asking us to make sure that every child has a textbook, and we were working towards that, and we were getting there. On that day when the textbooks were being dumped over there, it was really a heart, it broke your heart basically. And I stood there with mixed emotion because we tried so hard to get these textbooks, and just to see it being destroyed so easily, and that is now our biggest challenge.
'n Nutsman vertel dat hy nie betyds sy kliënte se goedere van die verwoesting kon red nie.
At the first time, we try on a clean because we are not prepared that the water will come because it came at night. When we wake up in the morning, the water was all over. So we saved that whatever that we can, but most of the stuff was already damaged. And then we try on a clean, take out the whatever that was damaged. We throw the TV because here we fix TVs, we sell cigarettes, and we have also the salon. So after save whatever that, we think like the water will never come. After cleaning, there will no business. We just here for the whole day cleaning. The following day, it starts again, thinking like maybe it will be on the same level. So at this time it was too much. Everything was damaged inside. We're supposed to take out everything and throw them whatever that was damaged. Special TVs, cigarettes, airtime, everything was gone.
This damage LCD, touch, phones, TV, and DVDs, accessories, chargers, cables, whatever. I have to fix also my things, my cupboards and my racks, my counters is damaged, so have to fix it.
There's no way even the kids we can even buy even stationery because they absolutely nothing. How are we gonna pay the rent? It's damaged. In this shop we survive most of 3 families. So all of us we're down. So there's nothing that we can do. It's only if we can get help. It is
Some documents.
all the document that was even inside, everything was damaged.
The destruction in your homes. People are just coming out of COVID, haven't been working. It's devastation and a matter of many of the shopkeepers that we have spoken to. We are doing our own assessment, shop to shop. We are doing our own assessment, home to home, to understand, not just give a food parcel and walk away. That is not the idea with Al Imdad Foundation. It's to come and see what other things that we need. I've been to a home now, and the ladies in that home are telling us, our fridges are not working, all our meat, all our food, we have to just take it and throw it away.
We had sewer water, we had debris, and at some point in time there were also fish that were swimming into the street. So, and there was a lot of dirt.
There is anger on the ground, right, especially from the households, and more specifically, the shop owners are saying, how do we run this economy of this town?
It took about 3 to 4 days after water levels subsided, and then you could see the dirt, amount of dirt that was in the water, only after water levels have come down. So stormwater drains were blocked, debris, silt, all blocking into the drainage system. So there wasn't any flow until that dirt has been removed.
In the case of water and sanitation systems and sewage plants, for example, just aren't working effectively because they're not maintained. So if we can maintain the infrastructure that we have, then that will go a long way to making sure that these systems are working effectively for people.
There is that speculation of the drainage system being dysfunctional. I wish to put that on record. You know, if the river is overflowing, the drainage system will not work. The drains will not be able to take water from town into the river. Why? Because the river is already overflowing. So it uses the drains to take water back into the town. The drainage system is serviced all the time. It's serviced very often. We are sure the drainage system is working. But once the river overflows, the drainage system is unable to push water from the town into the river. You know, it doesn't mean that every time when it rains, the river overflows. When it rains and the river is not overflowing, that's when you can say that the drainage system is working, because there is no water in town. The drainage system takes the water into the river. Is able to do that because the river is not overflowing. But once the water levels are high, the drainage system stops working.
Bly ingeskakel, net hierna praat ons met 'n kundige oor die probleme wat die oorstromings in Ladysmith veroorsaak. Ons is nou terug. Die skade wat aangerig is weens die oorstromings in Ladysmith beloop reeds meer as 170 miljoen rand. 'n Geowetenskaplike verduidelik dat opknappingswerk aan die Kliprivier damwal nie voldoende is om oorstromings te voorkom nie. Hier is deel 3 van Jolien Reed en kameraman Byron Taylor se spesiale verslag.
Vir Rosa Karwa se oorlede pa was 'n lid van die komitee wat die bou van die Ladysmith damwal goedgekeur het.
My dad was a forerunner in the front runner in the flood liaison committee, as well as the dams operation committee after the dam was built. And I have documentation as well. My dad's documentation is all here, where they brought in researchers and scientists and experts in the field from abroad to do a complete research on the problem. And they said that for the dam to be effective as well and to prevent the flooding further in the town, the river has to be maintained. The valves at the river have to be maintained. The river has to be desalted as well on a regular basis, and that had become a municipal bylaw as well.
There was a program in place, there was a agreement that this river here, if you look at all these reeds here, we're supposed to be all removed because it holds back water. The silting of this river was one of the things that had been done. There were 3 or 4 things that had to be done.
As of now, we have enlisted the services of SABC, the company, the engineering consultants that were recommended to us by Umgeni Water. They came here, assessed the river, assessed the situation of the town, assessed the catchment areas, and we are awaiting their report. They should give us the comprehensive report with recommendations. Then we take it from there. In simplest terms, we will be implementing their recommendations.
Dit is die tweede agtereenvolgende jaar wat die Kliprivier oorstroom.
What we can do, however, is think of ways to reduce flood risk, in particular for informal settlements, upstream and downstream of Ladysmith itself. We also need to think about more effective flood warning. And the municipality also needs to think about more effective flood insurance. So having in place a system to help reduce the economic impacts of people and homes and businesses that have been affected. So there are some things that we need to do here, but just engineering of the dams is not going to provide the solution.
SABC sê dat die oorstroming van die jaar erger was as verlede jaar.
This thing of flooding used to happen once in 10 years. So it was easy to be tempted and think that it will take time or it will never come again. But now, due to this climate change, you can see that flooding is going to happen every year.
Global warming is important and it does play a part. And however, it's very difficult to link global warming to one single event, like one flood. It's when we have floods time and time and time again, that's when we can identify the signature of climate change upon our weather systems.
Dis ongelukkig al vir vanaand. Onthou Fokus word elke donderdagoggend om 10:30 op SABC 2 herhaal. En ons is ook steeds beskikbaar op YouTube. Al wat jy moet doen is jy moet ons volg op ons Facebookblad by Fokus SABC of volg ons dan op Twitter by Fokus ZA. Jy kan vir ons 'n e-pos stuur aan fokus@sabc.co.za. Ons hoop jy kan volgende Woensdag aand om 7:00 weer by ons hier aansluit op SABC 2. Tot dan.